Hi, Candy. I'm Mandi Mystic. Thank you for booking a tarot reading with me. I have upgraded you to a video session because I'm a little late delivering your reading. I've drawn quite a few cards here. So, in these readings and in my spiritual advisor sessions, I like to start by saying that I may touch on some subjects that are painful to talk about, or they may reveal some inner workings that you're just not ready to deal with yet, and this can manifest as anger or just feeling exposed or isolated. And I just want you to know, when those types of feelings come up, that is spiritual healing and spiritual work. And that's my job. I'm going to try to be as professional as possible, but I will always do this out of love and out of the desire to help you. I I will not judge you for any situation that you bring to me, and I will do my best to give you my impartial opinion. So I've drawn 5 cards here. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is with you and your husband. Typically, when I read for people, I'm reading blind. So I'm going to give you a few possibilities with each card, and some things may resonate and some may not. And that's just because I don't want to miss the mark on your reading by just keeping it to one possibility. If you have any questions after the reading, you can ask for clarification on any part of this. So our first card is the Pillar in reverse, and this is specific to my tarot deck. I use the Threads of Fate Lumen Edition. So the Pillar is an interesting card. A pillar can be a place of support, on a building, but it also is a place of support, whether we're a place of support for our families or support for ourselves. Our innermost structures that keep us standing and keep our families from crumbling is what this card represents. Because this card's in reverse, this means the pillar element within your dynamic in your relationship is unbalanced. So, I think that both of you are showing up in this card. On one end of the spectrum, we have someone who is developing negative cycles within the relationships that they keep repeating. So, you have someone who, may have some childhood trauma and low self-esteem, and they continue to get into codependent relationships with narcissists and people like that, because they need validation, and, that's just the type of person that they end up with. These people don't really, the unbalanced pillar energy, it doesn't really have a lot of boundaries. They have a hard time standing up for themselves. They may become a pillar in someone's life in a way that's taking away from them or the other person, such as enabling another person. And then on the other end of this card, we have someone who's aggressive, domineering, trying to control everything. And, they're really shooting themselves in the foot when they do that, because they're trying to control everything so much that, because they want things to go a certain way, that they're actually ruining the situation and making it harder on themselves. They're hurting the outcome. So I'm not sure. I get the feeling that, you may be more of the codependent one in your relationship, and your husband may be maybe a little, I, I don't want to say aggressive, but a little like irritable, or he's not very motivated. Something unstable about that energy there. Somehow he's just not able to contribute, and he seems to be taking away quite a bit from your peace, and there's some anxiety and lack of focus there. Our second card is the Hangman. And the Hangman is not necessarily a negative card, but it's more of a card of choices. So with this card, we're in a state of, we're in a situation where we really can't decide. We're kind of stuck in one place. trying to figure out what is best to do. And sometimes you don't always have all the information that you need. It's best to stay in one place for a little bit until you have more clarity, until you have more answers. And that's what the hangman represents, because the hangman, he's dangling in the traditional decks. He's dangling from a tree by 1 foot. And he's not exactly upset about the situation. He's dangling by 1 foot and he's observing his surroundings. He's looking at everything that's going on. And this card is advising you to do the same. Now, if you are so miserable, or if you're being abused, if you're just unhappy, then always do what is best for yourself. If you have the urge to leave a situation because it is unhealthy, forget what that card says. Always do that. Put yourself first. Put your safety first. Put your mental health first. There's always room for reconciliation later, but always get yourself into a healthy situation so you're able to make better choices. You and your partner may be feeling the need to take a step back. If you wanted to both take a step back just to assess where you're going in the future, if your dreams and your goals still align, that would not be a bad idea. Just don't do anything quickly out of impulse. The next card here in my deck is the Devil. If you're used to tarot readings, I'm sure you've heard of this card. So, with this card, the first thing that came to my mind, and I do intuitively pull, was addiction. Now, addiction can mean a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be an addiction to drugs. You could have an addiction to alcohol. It could be prescription medication. Maybe just doing something too much to the detriment of you or your relationship. I may be wrong, but in this case, I feel like this card may apply to the husband, but it could apply to you as well. If there's like some excessive drinking or some substance abuse, maybe, I've seen situations where there's a gentleman who's addicted to pornography or talking to other girls and looking at their pictures on Instagram. Those sorts of situations, done in excess, they can be an addiction. There's other, gambling addictions. They can really, really damage a family. And sometimes other things that could be highlighted by this card are like sexual addiction, addiction to going outside of the marriage, and being promiscuous with other people. Sometimes an addiction to toxicity is just, you're caught in this dynamic of constantly fighting. Oftentimes the Devil card is taking too much of something, doing too much of something to the detriment. Oftentimes the sins of the flesh, just typical things that you would expect to be an issue in a relationship. But the thing about the Devil card is it has a good side and it has a bad side. The Devil card, the symbology behind it, the man and the woman that are on the original cards have the ability to step out of those chains if they so desire. So even though it seems like a very scary card, all hope is not lost. It may take some support and communication, but it is a situation that can be overcome. Sometimes people aren't ready to overcome. And in those cases, you do have to preserve yourself. You do have to walk away. But that doesn't mean you can't come back together later. And on the more extreme side of the Devil card, because it is quite a bad card, as is most things in the tarot, they're good and bad. This can indicate abuse or just that controlling nature that came up in the beginning of the reading. And the beginning of the reading also spoke about codependency. If there's an extreme amount of codependency going on, if the power dynamics in the relationship are not fair or even, this card would be coming up. So what I'm really feeling, I'm still feeling that, you may be the more codependent one here in the relationship, that you're just trying to make everything work. I'm sorry, I had to pause and I kind of lost where I was. Essentially, I was talking about codependence and just, if you find yourself repeating these negative patterns, narrow down what they are. If you're seeing the same patterns in every relationship that you're in, if you can isolate what the patterns are, it's easier to find the emotions and the trauma behind that. And once you isolate that, you're able to begin to break that pattern. Our next two cards are the Conqueror of Cups and the Conqueror of Wands in reverse. This is the Knight of Cups and the Knight of Wands in reverse. So these are the Conquerors in my deck. Typically when you see the Knight, he is a bit of a hothead, and he jumps before he thinks all over the board. Well, when he's in reverse, it can be interesting. So, if there's mental health issues at play here, procrastination can play a role in, a lot of marital issues, relationship issues. It may be beneficial for you two to go see a counselor. Now, again, I don't know the whole situation. But with the Devil card and then the Knight of Cups in reverse here, it's looking like it may be like, things aren't being taken seriously. And it's kind of like, we get caught in a hole, and we're having a hard time even picturing how to work our way out of it. So we just stop trying. If that seems to be the situation, it can be harder to tell when a man's depressed than when a woman is depressed, because they're broody, they're moody, they become withdrawn, they become quiet, snappy. If you're seeing signs like that, that may be something to bring up. It can be hard to broach that subject with men. If you find that your relationships are becoming codependent, or maybe people are becoming codependent on you, even if you did something like Better Health, they can talk to you about things, help you see things in a different perspective, give you things that you can do as a couple, things that you can do individually, so that you're able to set and enforce boundaries without it becoming, like a big fight. So, just the way you deliver your message. I really like the types of therapists who will, they're not scared to tell people about, their role in things. So, some marriage counselors, they'll kind of take sides. I have a feeling like it's very blatant. Like, this person knows what they're doing to contribute to the situation. And the reason why I say that is because the Knight of Cups in reverse is another card that shows possible misogyny, possible abuse, narcissism, cheating, addictive behaviors, obsessive jealousy, or even someone who's just become commitment phobic, even though they weren't before. They kind of get cold feet, and then they're like, oh wow, I'm trapped, and they freak out, and they do things that are really out of character for them. These are all things that can be shown by this card. With this being next to the Devil, and the Conqueror of Wands being a clarifying card on top of that, there's some impulsive issues going on here. Now, the Conqueror Knight of Cups in reverse is also a card that is a relationship ender. This very often marks the end of a relationship. So, if you're coming to the conclusion that things might not be working out, and that was one of your questions, I would say it does not seem, I don't know if it's ending today or tomorrow, but it seems like the things the way they are now are probably not sustainable. Now, that being said, tarot, it shows one snapshot of a million different possibilities. And that's because we have free will. We're here to learn lessons. There's lessons that are set on our path before we're born. But how we navigate this life is completely up to us. Our ancestors might close doors, block us off from people. They may send us in certain directions. But at the end of the day, it's our choice. That doesn't mean you guys are doomed, but the way things are right at this moment, with the codependency and the dysfunction that seems to be going on, maybe a lack of communication, this situation right now is not sustainable. If you're able to make a breakthrough in communication, and maybe the two of you can really just sit down and maybe have a mediator of some sort. Yeah, a wise family member would be good. Someone who's impartial and help you guys communicate better. And also, I find, don't make him make promises that he's not willing to keep. We have we're females, and we have, big emotions, and we're very overflowing with our love, whether it's, we're feeling good about it or bad about it. And when we show someone how much we love them and how much we're hurting, a man doesn't really want to see us cry. And he'll say whatever he has to in the moment because of guilt, because of shame, because he doesn't want to hurt you in that way, even though his heart is saying, I need to go. I need to go. This isn't working for me. But they'll keep trying to make it work. So don't barter, don't bargain. Like, just ask point blank, do you see us being together in a year or 2 years? Is this something that you want to do? Do you see us being married? Do you want to have kids? If you're not happy, why? Those are really important questions. Sometimes we'll be like, well, if I do this, will you do this? Y'all are just, possibly setting yourselves up for failure there. At the end of the day, the want to change and the want to fix has to be there 110%. If you're not seeing actions match words, or if you're seeing improvement that slacks off after a while, that's not real dedication. Words are important. Actions are so much more important. And one thing I like to recommend to my clients, especially if there's like some cheating or something going on, or even suspicions of, ask to go through his phone. Not in an accusing way. Or just pick up his phone. The reaction when you pick up his phone will tell you everything that you need to know about the relationship being sustainable or not. It doesn't matter what's on the phone. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. If he panics, if he gets angry, if he looks nervous, don't even go through it. Because it's as good as over at that point. If infidelity is one of your breaking points in a relationship. And our final card, the Knight of Wands in reverse. This card really, with the Devil, it sets off some alarm bells. So the more I'm reading into this, the more I'm thinking that this is an abusive, jealous, possessive, cocky type of dynamic. Possibly definitely some infidelity. If I were reading for someone, that would be, for even a family member, I would think that would be an issue. On the weaker side of that would be someone who's just not passionate about saving the relationship. Someone who doesn't have a lot of ambition. They're lacking, and they're not willing to put in the work. But the cards that I'm seeing an escalation in being possessive and jealous, questioning, maybe following you to work. I don't know how bad it's getting. But generally, when this card pops up, the man in question, he's between 20 and 35 typically. And he's a fire sign, usually. But that's not always the case. But it is a card that spells out danger, not safe, fiery temper, really unpredictable. And you tend to see those qualities in someone who may be abusing alcohol or drugs. He may not be. I've never pulled this card, and it's not been a man who is level-headed. And, maybe when y'all met, he was level-headed. But as things devolved, some of the worst characteristics came out. when we get into relationships with people who sort of feel those negative cycle dynamics, it tends to bring out the worst in us. I truly hope for your sake that's not the case. And I would really love to pull a card either to give me some more clarity or at least to give you some hope in this situation. I pulled from my Oracle deck, I pulled Trust. And in this, I would say, trust yourself. Trust your judgment above anyone else's judgment. Trust your judgment. Trust your gut. Trust your instincts. Don't let anyone gaslight you. Don't let anyone explain away things that are weird and things just aren't matching up and you got a feeling. I like to tell people, if you are feeling angry or jealous and it's like an emotion, you're probably going to feel it in your chest. If you feel something with your intuition, you're probably going to feel it in your stomach. Like your stomach just drops a little bit because you know their energy is not matching their words. And it will keep nagging in the back of your head over and over and over if you ignore your intuition. Trust yourself. You know what's best for you. You know what you need. You know what you see. If you're in a relationship with someone and they continually disrespect you, they keep running to their ex and over and over and over, and you give them chance after chance, well, you obviously see they're not improving. And they say, oh, I need someone who's going to trust me. I need someone who's going to, want to be there for me, my ride or die. Okay, well, you're not giving me anything to trust. They're just trying to get you trapped in a round and round and round conversation that's not productive at all. Don't get trapped in that. Focus, laser focus. If you see something, if you're safe to, call it out. And don't let them deflect. And don't let them change the subject. And don't let them bring up something from 7 years ago. And don't let them, don't let them dominate the conversation. I wish I would have. I wish I would have been able to have a better reading for you. However, I'm a firm believer in delivering the truth. I do apologize about your reading being a little late. I usually shoot for 48 hours, but right now I'm dealing with some pretty bad health situations, and I'm just getting a little caught up. I had to rest over the weekend. Some days I can't sit up, so that's why I drew the extra cards. I hope you enjoyed your reading, even though the message wasn't great. And I will leave you with, if they wanted to, they would. And don't forget that. That's a very valuable piece of advice for anyone in your life. If you need any clarification or you just need to talk, you have my inbox. I'm more than happy to speak with you on this. Take care and blessed be.